This video might be the best idea that you've never heard of on the internet. Few people are willing to push back against return to office because everything that they've tried so far, like petitions, complaining online, and writing long-ass posts on LinkedIn with citations on how remote is objectively better for productivity than return to office backed by research, has fallen on deaf ears, or more likely, management laughing among themselves, saying, haha, look at these people, look at these idiots, they don't have any power. In every country, in every company. Most people also have bills to pay, families to feed, so they aren't willing to put their jobs on the line to protest more aggressively against return to office. Sometimes less is more, however, and the best way to push back against RTO, return to office mandates, without getting fired is by packing lunch from home and starving the businesses around the office. No pun intended. Just stop spending money with businesses around your office area, especially if that's located downtown or in the central business district of your city. What? How does that help? Let me explain how nobody's thought about this and how it's gonna work. Most people think the return to office is about monitoring and controlling people and companies owning or renting real estate that they don't want to be sitting on vacant. Yes, those are reasons that companies want you to RTO, but there's also a missing puzzle piece that most people don't even realize is missing. Why would companies keep spending money renting an office when there's already a number of ways, high-tech ways to monitor employees? Don't say just use a mouse mover, bro, because mouse movers are so 2021. Companies can see the location where you're using your laptop, the number of messages that you're sending on places like Slack or Lark, how long your meetings were, and who joined them. All sorts of data. I've even heard of some companies that mandate that you have your webcam on at all times so they know that you're at your desk while working from home. I shit you not. If you want to know how much your company is capable of tracking you even when working remotely, just ask anyone who's working in a Chinese company. Just remember, no matter how large or wealthy the company is, all companies are cheap fucks. And though it might seem otherwise at times, companies constantly try to optimize their spending. Renting commercial real estate isn't cheap, especially prime downtown real estate where they usually like to have their offices. In any major city, in any country, New York, London, Singapore, Melbourne, renting a small 1,500 to 2,000 square foot office will cost at least 6 figures USD a year. Renting an entire floor will easily run $1 million USD and beyond. And if it's a bigger company like a major bank or a big tech company renting an entire building, you're looking at millions, tens of millions a year. You don't need to believe me, you just have to go onto Google or ChatGPT and look for office rental cost, 2,000 square feet downtown, and the name of your city. You find the exact results that I'm talking about. If companies could cut 7 figures off their balance sheets while still being able to monitor employees, they would. So why would they even bother to renew their lease and mandate people to return to the office? Well, here's the part that a lot of people are missing. The economy surrounding the office. The next time you're back at the office, take a look around you at 12 o'clock.
That system is full of degenerates. When you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save.
Take a look at the tens of thousands of office drones going to get lunch. Yes, I said hundreds of thousands because the typical office floor seats about 200 to 300 people. The typical downtown skyscraper is 30, 40, 50 floors. 10,000 people in a building easily. Multiply that by the number of offices that they have in a typical downtown, in a typical city, and even a $15 cheap lunch special is gonna amount to easily $1 billion being spent on lunch every single year. Realistically, not everyone's eating the cheapest lunch special they can find near their office. Realistically, there are a lot of people going out to buy their favorite branded coffees, milk teas if you're in Asia. Realistically, companies will order large quantities of food for conferences, team events, and other corporate functions. And realistically, most people who can't be bothered to cook after a long day of work will grab something to eat or take something out from around their office before commuting home. So really, food and beverage around downtown areas in cities worldwide where all the offices are is a little multi-billion dollar a year industry. Now you understand why there's been such a heavy push for everyone to return to the office. At face value, it looks like return to office mandates are coming from companies, but the strings are really being pulled by cities who stand not just losing billions in real estate if companies stop renting offices, but billions more from the entire economy surrounding offices in their downtown business districts. More on that in a bit. You might still have to return to your office, but the best way to push back without getting fired is to minimize the amount of money that you're spending around the office. I know it's impossible for a lot of people to completely stop and spend literally $0 every single day that they have to be at the office, but do yourself and everyone around you a favor and at least spend the minimum bare possible when returning to office. The most obvious place to start is lunch. Pack something from home. It's probably better for your nutrition and your wallet anyway. You can also fast or eat one meal a day. It's entirely possible and natural because humans weren't eating 3 or even 2 meals a day or even every day back in the Middle Ages, and certainly not when they were cavemen when they had to hunt for food. Eat dinner at home. Don't make the excuse that you don't have time because there's plenty of meals you can prep in 10 minutes, shove into an oven for 15-20 minutes while you get ready or unready from work, and then bring to work or keep and reheat as dinner. Just ask ChatGPT. If you're buying something after work like groceries, clothes, don't buy from around your office. Go buy from somewhere that's nearer to home or during the weekend. Absolutely keep spending around your office to a bare minimum. The closer to zero, the better. This is the part where many people will say, how will me doing this change anything? I'm just one person. This is a mentality that I've found to be extra prevalent around Southeast Asia. And first of all, there's a concept called the 3.5% rule. Look it up, where it's been found that it only takes about 3.5% of society historically to push back against something peacefully for change to take place. This is something that's gone on throughout human history. Again, you can look it up. Second, yeah, you're definitely going to be in the minority because most people won't know to do this, or like you, will doubt how effectively this is going to work. But lucky for you, I've done all the math homework. Hashtag Asian people. If only 1 in 10 people who usually spend about 10 to 20 bucks a day at the office brings that number down to 0, I can assure you businesses around the office will quickly feel the difference real quick on their balance sheets. Company executives in white collar will quickly lay off thousands of people just to have their stock increase by 10%. Likewise, if revenue goes down 10% in a quarter or even a year, rest assured that upper management and the investor board will be on high alert, looking into it, brainstorming in the war room as to what happened and how to fix it. Margins can be low for most food and beverage businesses, especially downtown where rent is exorbitant. Again, go to ChatGPT, type in commercial rent restaurant downtown, your city name here, and look that up. They rely on high traffic volume to rake in money, so if that number goes down by even 10% sales, they're definitely going to feel it. What's going to happen when more people start doing this and boycott spending downtown is businesses will react. They'll probably start with giving even more aggressive offers, more better lunch specials for you to tempt you to spend with them again. They'll take the slimmer margins over no margins, especially if those slim margins are going to add up in quantity. If you don't take the bait, you're going to start seeing places fold, especially the more affordable places, because in addition to your boycott, who's going to order the cheapest food for corporate events when the company is paying for it? If 1 in 10, hell, even 1 in 20 people push back against RTO by refusing to spend around the office, the number of food places is going to slowly but eventually dwindle. The middle to higher end places will survive, which will eventually lead people to get priced out from eating lunch out because they don't have as many cheap places to eat lunch anymore, and they hate eating the same food every day, and eventually they're going to start exploring other options. They don't necessarily have to make food from home, but who cares? Even picking up a sandwich from the 7-Eleven or gas station on the way to work will eventually add to the starvation of downtown businesses. This is going to create an effect that will both cascade and snowball because the fewer people patronize businesses around the office, the lower their revenue. The lower their revenue, the less sense it makes to stay open, especially if they're not just making less, but they're not making enough to cover rent, employees, business operating expenses. And the more businesses around offices close, the less rent landlords and cities are going to be making through things like taxes. When revenue from the economy around the office drastically gets reduced, landlords and cities are going to slowly start turning to those companies that they put their trust in and say, hey, you promised to do your part for the economy by mandating return to office. We're not getting the results that we've expected, so we're going to have to raise your rent. We're going to have to raise your taxes. We're going to have to pull the grants and tax incentives we agreed on since you couldn't keep up with your end of the bargain. Boom! How is that return to office mandate working for you now? I'm still returning to the office like you said. Nobody said that I had to spend any money while doing that, and no one can make me. Alright, you said all this stuff, and Where's the proof that all these cities are working together with companies to push the return to office? Now here comes the juicy part. There's a lot of information on the internet about cities in the US offering incentives for companies to open up or keep offices in their city. Most prolifically, over a dozen cities across the US threw literally billions of dollars at Amazon recently in funding, tax incentives, grants, up to 100% full reduction in property taxes for 15 years, promises of investment, and building infrastructure around the city just to accommodate the company if it sets up shop over there. It's weird how hard it is to find information about other cities outside of the US doing this, but let me tell you why it's extremely doubtful that the US is the only country where this is happening. Companies and countries love sharing playbooks. The best example actually happened just 4 years ago when about every single major country worldwide rolled out the same Corgi 19 lockdowns, mask mandates, vaccine mandates in lockstep. What makes you think that cities outside of the US, especially all these business hubs like Singapore, Hong Kong, London, don't have similar incentives for companies to have offices in their city in exchange for those sweet grants or tax deductions or other financial incentives like promises on investment or property tax reduction? I'm not saying that any of these cities have such policies in place. I'm not saying it's a fact. What I'm saying here is that there's a non-zero chance that all these cities around the world are likely doing this. It's just that it happens to be in closed-door meetings or backroom deals, likely with some NDAs thrown in. So a lot of that information isn't publicly discoverable. If you're still in doubt and thinking to yourself, no way, I want you to think about this. Countries have incentive structures that either naturally or proactively attract businesses. Think about how places like London and Hong Kong became financial hubs in the past, how rich people flocked to tax havens like Singapore, and how Dubai wasn't even on anyone's radar 10 to 15 years ago. Offering benefits to companies to set up a business entity in a country has been so prevalent, it's just going to be a natural and seamless step to offer a layer of incentives for said companies to participate in downtown real estate. In return, you just got to get those useless eaters, the loyal corporate family, back to the office so they can spend their hard-earned money on the economy around them. All right, I've done all the thinking for you. Now go and start doing this, or better yet, start spreading this idea and creating a movement in the city that you live in if you're sick and tired of waking up every single weekday knowing that you have to drag yourself to the office. That's it for today, and I hope you learned something. See you all in the next video. Goodbye.